If I were to offer you a free 1 ounce gold coin or $10, which would you rather have?
I would have $10.
Oh, you would rather have $10? Just no need for a 1 ounce gold coin?
I mean, there's always a need, but what'd I do with it?
I'd rather have the $10.
Or you would rather have the $10? Well, congratulations. It's your lucky day today. Or my lucky day today, actually. You'll figure it out someday. Thank you. Congratulations.
Damn, I don't know.
I think the easy choice is $5, but now I'm wondering if that's actually more
I don't know the
valuable.
price of gold.
Gold
But
is
$5 could
gold
buy me a beer. I don't even know what the right answer would be.
Hey, soldiers, this is a subject we cover often. The central banks, they are continuing to buy gold. The global central banks, all right? Now, one of them is not reporting. Guess which one that is, okay? If you guess China, you're wrong. Listen, go ahead and hit subscribe, enlist, become a soldier of finance. Guys, let me know you hit that subscribe button in the comments. I will salute you. I need you to hit the thumbs up button so that the algorithm understands that this is a channel worth growing. I thank you all, and I salute all of the soldiers of finance all throughout the world. There are so many people in this audience that are from so many places. I love it. All right, guys, look, the central banks, would you agree with me when I say that the central banks know what the plan is? Okay, whatever the plan is, they know what it is. They know what it is because they are a big part of what's crafting the plan. What plan am I talking about? Well, the plan for the evolution of the global economy. So we sit here and we debate the debt ceiling. We debate whether or not the US dollar is long for this world in terms of its status as global reserve currency. But they are seeing things. We're in the Cessna. Let me put it this way. We're in the Cessna and we're puttering along at 15,000, maybe 10,000 feet in our flying lawnmower. And we see a little slice of the sky, okay? They are air traffic control, like it or not. And they see the entire sky. So what have they been doing lately? Well, they've been buying gold at record-breaking paces, okay? Why are they doing that? What's that tell you? Now listen, before we get into a conversation about gold, you need to understand that it's unwise, in my opinion, to sell all of your assets and just become modest, okay? And just, I got everything, it's gold, okay? I don't think it's wise to put all your eggs in one basket, but you do need to figure out whether or not gold has a place in your portfolio. What does gold do, okay? What is gold's function? Well, I'll tell you what its function is not. Its function is not to appreciate like a stock or to kick off an income, like a stock that pays a dividend. Okay, that's not what gold does. What gold does, its purpose is as a store of value to maintain your purchasing power. That is why if gold, because a lot of YouTube channels are $10,000 gold, you better hope not, because if gold goes to $10,000, then that means it is going to take, this is the measure, back in the day, they used to say, well, they say it now, that back in the day, 1 ounce of gold would buy a Roman, fine tunic, okay, the finest materials, of course, the best sandals, and a belt made of the finest materials. Now, if you jump forward into 2023, an ounce of gold is running around $2,000, and that is going to buy a man a nice tailored suit for about $1,000. Yes, ladies, that is how much men's clothing costs. It's going to buy him a pair of Bruno Magli shoes at about $500. And I've been told that the Gucci belts, because I don't have one, but I have been told that you can get a belt for $300 or $400. Okay, so we're nearing the $2,000 range. So if gold went to $10,000, what that's saying is that that same group of items, the suit, the belt, the shoes, would then cost $10,000. So that is why we really don't want to see $10,000 gold. Okay. But gold remains a store of value. And the central banks understand this. They also understand gold's power from another perspective. And that is, it is looking more likely that the BRICS nations are at least considering a commodities-backed currency. What commodities would back a BRICS currency? Well, probably oil, because there are oil-producing nations that are trying hard to get into BRICS and that are working with BRICS. Okay, so you got that. And gold, all right, because China has a lot of gold. They probably have a lot more than they're letting on.
Max, thank you so much for joining us. So the first question I had is, I saw a report not so long ago showing how from the 2008 financial crisis up until now, central banks have increased their gold holdings by 25%. Even while publicly they kind of demonize gold, say that it's a relic of a barbaric past, privately they're actually hoarding gold, especially like China, Russia, and some of the kind of more developing countries. Why is that? Why do you think that they're hoarding gold?
Hey, you're right. In the third quarter last year, they purchased 400 tons, which is the largest purchase on record. So they're certainly stockpiling, and looking at countries like you mentioned, Russia, China, Iran. They're looking at digital currencies right now. They're looking at backing those digital currencies with gold, with something stable. So, that's coming out in reports. You're not really seeing it in the mainstream news, but it is making its way there little by little. And certainly, they're not the only countries buying across the board. The central banks are preparing. They're preparing for a recession.
Now, depending on what happens, there very well may come a time where gold is so prohibitively expensive that most folk just won't be able to afford it. That is a possibility. Silver is an alternative that is less costly. We saw in the video that we did here a little while ago, a couple of videos ago, how Texas is the latest state looking at creating transactional currencies backed by gold and silver. So even the states here in America are playing the game of gold, getting wise to sound money. Tennessee is another video we did on what they're doing with gold. Wyoming's in the game. There are about a good half dozen states so far that are looking into incorporating gold into their economy. So central bank gold buying is off to a record-breaking start in 2023, led by Singapore. It may not be the off-the-charts gold buying observed in the second half of 2022, but central bank gold buying made a blistering start to 2023 when, according to the latest report from the World Gold Council, demand for the hard currency by the world's money printing authorities reached 228 tons in the first quarter. That's a 176% increase compared to the 82.7 tons just 1 year ago. While lower than the figures seen in the previous 2 quarters, this was nonetheless the strongest first quarter on record. All right. According to the World Gold Council, quote, "This is all the more impressive considering it follows the record-breaking pace of demand last year." All right. The rolling 4-quarter total soared to a record 1,224 tons in the first quarter, following massive buying in recent quarters. As with figures for both Q3, or the third quarter of 2022, and the fourth quarter of 2022, data for the current quarter contains a significant estimate for unreported activity. So that means all of the central banks are not reporting what they're doing with regard to purchasing gold. The United States isn't reporting, okay? Our figure has set static for a while. And I find, I'm going to say I find it hard to believe. But then again, our monetary authorities have swore that there would be no inflation. Janet Yellen over at the Treasury, she parroted that. And Janet Yellen even came out and said that the U.S. had never gone through a period where it hadn't paid its bills. And we proved that was a lie. All right. So here we are, a little teeny tiny YouTube channel, and just proved that the Treasury doesn't know what the hell it's talking about, or it is lying. okay, in order to preserve some sort of political perception. 4 central banks accounted for the majority of reported purchasing in the first quarter. The Monetary Authority of Singapore was the largest single buyer during the quarter, thanks to the addition of 69 tons of gold, the first increase in its gold reserves since June of 2021. Confirms that buying in Q1 was not only the domain of emerging market central banks. Gold reserves at the Monetary Authority of Singapore now total 222 tons. That's a 45% increase over the end of 2022 when they reported. Here we go. The People's Bank of China. Now remember, in the BRICS nations, the C stands for China. The People's Bank of China disclosed that its gold reserves had risen by 58 tons since recommencing reports of purchases in November of 2022. So they've gone a long time without actually reporting. So we really don't know how much they have, right? But we know that based on what they've told us, based on what they've told the world, the People's Bank of China has added 120 tons to its gold reserves, lifting them to 2,068 tons. Overnight, the State Administration of Foreign Exchange reported the latest April reserves data, which revealed that China's gold reserves rose to 66.76 million ounces at the end of April, up from 66.5 million ounces at the end of March. So the People's Bank of China is purchasing. India, Turkey also purchasing heavily. The Reserve Bank of India added a modest 7 tons in the first quarter. But listen, we're talking tons here, okay? So multiply that out by the amount of ounces that are in a ton, okay? Looking at it from our perspective. Because as individuals, we're not buying tons, okay? I know I'm not. Now, the rest of the soldiers of finance might be a little bit more well-heeled than me. That's not hard to do. So you may have some wherewithal to, go for broke. But in all seriousness, we also have Turkey. They are a consistent buyer of gold, and their official reserves rose by 30 tons. Combined purchases of 45 tons in January and February, offset by a sale in March, the first since November of 2021. So they've got a tremendous amount of gold that they are continuing to be very enthusiastic about bringing into the country. And look, if you're buying gold, you know what you're not buying? You're probably taking some of that money and not buying, to buy gold and refraining from buying U.S. Treasuries. A significant update during Q1 came from the Central Bank of Russia. Now, in the BRICS equation, the R stands for Russia. In a resumption of its reporting of gold reserves, backfilling data from the end of January 2022. This is significant. We can now see that in Q1, Russia's official gold reserves fell by 6 tons to 2,327 tons. Okay. However, even with the decline, possibly related to coin minting, the country's gold reserves are 28 tons higher than when it stopped reporting last year. So in the interim between them now reporting and back when they stopped, they have somehow accumulated 28 tons more gold. Okay. So why is that so important? Because you got China, you got Russia. And again, these are two of the countries that would be instrumental in pushing a BRICS-backed currency that is in turn backed by commodities. So you see both of them are serious players, and they're reporting. Now, why are they reporting? Because they want the world to know how much gold they have. That is going to be a very important aspect of having folk have faith in the commodities that back this currency if they ever go through with it. We're looking at a multipolar world in terms of currencies. It's not going to happen overnight, but by the mid-2030s, we will have other prominent currencies, okay, out there. Some of which exist right now, okay? Kevin O'Leary was saying that the dollar was secure, but what Kevin O'Leary is not taking into account is the weaponization of the dollar and the fact that America has just gone sanctions crazy, all right? And people are sick and tired of it, all right? 80% of the world's economy is still dealing with Russia, okay? Even some of the Western allies. So that tells you how effective these sanctions have been. So they're reporting, Russia and China, 2 BRICS members are reporting. Selling was, again, much more modest by comparison. The Central Bank of Uzbekistan was down by 15 tons. They sold 15 tons. National Bank of Kazakhstan sold 20 tons. They were the largest sellers in the group, according to the World Gold Council. It is not uncommon for central banks that purchase gold from domestic sources, as both Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan do, to be frequent sellers of gold. Cambodia, the United Arab Emirates, Tajikistan, they also were down 10 tons, 1 ton, and 1 ton, respectively. Croatia reported a 2-ton reduction. Okay, January, and its gold holdings in January. But that was a transfer. So they transferred to the European Central Bank, which is required of all countries joining the euro area. So you got to pay to play in that case. As such, it does not really represent a decline in the global universe of official sector gold. All right, so strong central bank demand continues from around the world. They're buying gold. Remember, we talked about gold's purpose, okay, is to preserve your purchasing power. The dollar's not going to do that, guys, okay? You can just look at your own life, and you can go back, and you can figure out what a dollar purchased when you were 12 and what it purchases right now. And there is a drastic difference. You can do the math on how much it has lost. Purchases by the central banks will likely continue to outweigh sales for the foreseeable future and may explain in part why gold trades just shy of its all-time high of $2,000 per ounce. The exact pace of net buying is difficult to determine. Right, because all these countries do not report, and I would say that they probably aren't all reporting accurately either. Now, Canada, they got rid of their gold by and large. But here's the thing with Canada. Canada's got several gold mines, and Canada's becoming more and more of a communist country every day in some respects. So they can just nationalize it. That's an option for Canada. I want you to go ahead and take a look at this video right here. Will the United States default on its debt? And if it does, how can you use that opportunity to prosper? Guys, check that video out. I'll talk to you soon.